was setting up a cultivator. I had some welding to do on it, so I brought it over near the house. Then I went to let the wings down, and on that particular cultivator, you had to stand under the wing to pull out the transport pin. As I pulled out the pin, the wing came down. I fell into a slight depression in the ground, otherwise I would have been crushed. I actually got stabbed in the back at the same time, and I had internal bleeding going on. So with each breath, I could feel that it was a little shallower. I did not think that my wife could get me to the hospital fast enough. So I knew I was dying, and that was a great thing. Knowing I was dying, I was immediately struck with the things that I wanted most and had not yet achieved. What I wanted most was love. And I had never really done anything for other people. I'd only ever done things for myself. And I had not really loved sacrificially. And I felt deep regret. I mean, I was going to Mass every Sunday. I was an obedient Catholic, but I presumed to have time. I got hit on the top of my head hard enough to crush 5 vertebrae, but it didn't split my skull because the sharp point of the cultivator shovel hit right in the middle of the button on the top of my baseball cap. I was the most surprised of anybody that I survived. And needless to say, I wanted to change my life abruptly and completely.
When I first heard about the permanent diaconate, it was Archbishop Thomas Collins, who's now Cardinal Collins out in Toronto. He came out to my parish in Lloydminster. I remember him getting up at one of the masses and saying, "I'm looking for a few good men." That evening, I remember going back and talking very seriously with my wife. You know, I was just laying there thinking about things, and there was something in me that said, "I think this is God's putting something on my heart that I need to follow this call and see where it leads."
The calling to the diaconate began at age 18, just finishing my senior year of high school, essentially, when I was given a book about the diaconate by one of my instructors. The thought of being a permanent deacon never left me. And it was only about 30 years later, I participated in the whole of Holy Week, and it just kind of brought that all back to me, almost like a ton of bricks.
I knew that I'm not worthy. Lord, is this really asking Him, challenging Him? Is this really what you wanted me to do? Every time there was some kind of an answer, and every time there was some kind of a sign that, you know what? Do not be afraid. Those were the words that I keep on hearing.
It wasn't exciting necessarily. It was just, yes, I think this is what I need to do.
The diaconate sacramentalizes Christ as servant. Service is a call that is extended to all the baptized. We know that. At the same time, it is helpful that we have it sacramentalized in the sense that the one who is the deacon represents Christ in his role as servant, and in this way stands as a visible reminder to all of us of the call that we do have as disciples of the Lord to be placing our lives at the service of our brothers and sisters. It does not mean that the deacon thereby replaces lay people in their respective roles of service. We want as many people as possible involved in whatever we can do in charitable works. But the deacon gives that representational role, if I can put it that way, reminding all of us of the call to service.
The vocation of the permanent diaconate, it's of course one of the levels of holy orders: bishop, priest, and deacon. So a deacon is then ordained as a clergy, an official representative of the Roman Catholic Church, of course. He's going to be someone who's very sensitive to the needs of those around him. It might be in the community, in the parish community itself, but it could be external, outside, you know, geographically in the local area. that if the deacon can see what the needs are, then it really is one of the key motives of his ministry, identify and then try to meet the needs. And I think, so then he becomes a motivator. Deacon becomes someone has used the word catalyst.
There's also a liturgical dimension to his role, which enables him to go from the world of service and the world of need and bring that by his liturgical role to the altar. Everything in Catholic life returns to the Eucharist. And so by having the deacon serve at the altar, he is a reminder that the needs of all people, particularly those that he is serving, those of the poor, are being brought to the source of all hope, which is Jesus.
And as deacons, your ministry, my ministry is going to look different than the deacon next door in the next parish.
Well, today when we came in this morning, we brought in whatever clothing was available at Holy Trinity. We picked it up through the week and brought it in this morning. And as you can see now, it's being sorted out here because we're short of clothing here right now. And so some of the staff and some of the volunteers are sorting the clothing out. So at 10:30, it'll be laid out for the people who need clothing. We'll come in here, and people will wait on them and try to find something that fits. Oftentimes I work in the dining hall. Sometimes we have out there coffee, tea, milk, juice, and sweets that have all been donated, that the people who all are waiting for their turn will come in and have coffee. Sometimes I socialize just with them. That's my job, just to go out and say hello and shake hands and have a coffee with those people who come looking for clothing. Other times I'm pouring coffee or putting sweets out. Whatever it is that needs to be done, that's what we'll be doing. We do a lot of things as deacons, and there are many things in liturgy, but this is one of the beautiful ministries that my wife Harriet and I have decided that we wanted to be part of. Part of our ministry is to keep us humble, is to come here every week and meet people who are in dire need of clothing, food, and many other things, and we enjoy it a lot.
How are you, Julian?
I'm Polish.
You're Polish, yes.
Yeah. And I always go to the Holy Rosary Church.
Ah, I see, very good.
We built that church.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, we thank you then.
My wife was here and she passed away here 3 months ago. I'm a Catholic, so she was a
Catholic
good
too.
Catholic. She was singing in a church choir for all those 50 years.
Oh yes, wow. You still have a mission. Don't stop praying.
No. We lived together. We were married for 66 years.
Oh wow, very good.
Most of the diaconate duties are definitely done after hours of the church. You know, a lot of people see the deacon at the altar and maybe in the procession at church, and in some ways it could look like that glorious moment of his week. There he is, he's in front of everybody. Most of the diaconate formation and their elements of work are done in the twilight hours, and they're done after churches close down, and they're going to various types of meetings. They're going to people's houses, they're blessing houses, they're counseling people in a light way, maybe just an encouragement way, maybe just a visitation. It's going to the hospital, it's coming here at 6 o'clock in the morning and sorting food. It is a devotion. We have taken a vow that we're going to do it. It's not, I can do it this week. I'm going to do it every week until they stop me. Most deacons are married, and this is a family event to become a deacon. Your children get involved, your wives and spouses get involved, and you know what? I think that what we need to do is make sure that our ladies are recognized, because they sacrifice for this ministry. Because in time of loss of their husbands, time and loss of their own time, and in this case, my good wife Margaret is here giving me a hand to separate this food. I'm not a food specialist. I don't know what goes with what, but she does. So I give her a hand basically to fill these boxes, and then I do all the bulwark and moving it around, and most of the distribution of it to the people's houses. It's a good workout, that's for sure.
Here with the Edmonton Remand Center, we have what's called the Rosary Project. And I can remember how it got started. We were walking out of a social justice meeting one night, and a member of ours looked across the Henday. You can see St. Charles parking lot from here. And as this building was being built, she said, once that place is done, we need to be there. So we were here one night, and there was this really big, muscular guy who had a rosary tattooed on his big forearm. And he was counting the beads on his forearm as we were going through the prayers. It was remarkable. And amazingly, a couple of months later, I met his mom. She was Catholic, and I met her at a church function. It just made the world really small. You know, the fact is that we're all made of the same clay, and their circumstances here are difficult, but we don't know the story. Many of them are picking up the family business. And if we wanted to hear their story, we'd hear about alcohol abuse and sexual abuse and physical abuse and things that are perpetuated in our society by the injustices that our society contains. And that's one of the things that is a really important responsibility that comes with being a deacon or any member of the clergy, is that people out of the blue, people you've never met, whether it's here, whether it's in the parish, whether it's in other circumstances, they share with you confidences that maybe one person in the world has heard, maybe nobody's heard. And it's not because of who you are individually, it's because of what you represent. Just like the notion of recognizing that quite often people encounter you, come looking for you at a time when they need something of spiritual importance in addition to whatever their personal circumstances are. It's true with the trust as well. And that feels just like such a great blessing to me, to be able to be that person at that moment that can offer that to them. I still remember vividly kneeling before Archbishop Smith, and he hands me a book of the Gospels, and he says, "Receive the Gospel of Christ, whose herald you now are. Believe what you read, teach what you believe, and practice what you teach." And I say those words as a prayer.
A servant is someone who doesn't lord it over others. A servant is someone who is looking for the welfare of others and not himself. It means being unselfish. And of course, do we all do this perfectly? No, but we strive with God's help to do the best that we can. Right now we're involved in working with Catholic Social Services, and they have a ministry called Welcome Home. And it's just helping people to transition from being homeless to getting their first place to stay. And it's very humbling work to see the joy that they experience of having a roof over their head for and they haven't had one for a long time.
I'm actually finding, in fact, a special intrinsic blessing when actually do the prayer vigils for the dead. Every time I'm called to actually preside prayer vigil, especially to people that I come to know now, I find more when I go home, where there is a bit of a sorrow, a bit of pain, but it seems that that's where I find special blessing internally.
Unless the wife of a married man who's considering, unless she's on board, it doesn't go any further. Because again, we talked about how important the church recognizes the sacrament of marriage, but it doesn't want to do anything unless both husband and wife, that they're both on board and very supportive of discerning the vocation.
I've been greatly blessed by the spouse that God gave me. We began our married life together running a theater company. And when we moved to the farm, she'd be on one tractor, I'd be on the other. So, we basically built all these things together. So when the call came to the diaconate, it was very clear that it was either both of us or not.
Mary was very supportive, and truth be told, she was an active volunteer at our parish a decade before I was. And it was through her that I got involved in ministry myself at St. Charles. There's just not a doubt that I couldn't have completed the program without her support, because I was juggling a career and becoming a student again for the first time in decades. You do need to know for certain that you're making the right choice, and that means a lot of other things you say no to. Through it all, Mary was supporting me and doing all the hard work around the house, because I wasn't, I just wasn't very helpful for a few years as I was busy doing other things.
She puts a lot of hours in this. and she has a lot of credibility coming to her, and I hope that every deacon's wife is recognized. She's the one that's helped me lay out where the stuff should go and how it's separated, and then we've already started to fill some boxes, and you'll see that we kind of have a pattern to it. She fills every little nook and cranny of this box with food, and we try to make it as variety as we can.
I would call Marlene my greatest spiritual guide. So it really wasn't just a question, like, am I called to the diaconate? It was, are we called to this change in our life?
We've been married coming up 42 years this summer. As our kids came into the picture more and more, to the point where we tried to make faith the base of our family life for our children. And the work that we did, we tried to make it service-based. So essentially the diaconate consecrated all of our work in a really special way. A wife has a say, and in my case, I didn't want Ken to be absent from his family both at Easter and at Christmas, so I suggested that he not serve everywhere at Christmas time, but only at Easter time. But you have to work together, you know.
As he went through formation, it was really exciting for all of us, because all of a sudden he became so much more knowledgeable about our faith, and especially when you're in that 10 to 14 age area, either you're interested in or you're not, and I was. And so all of a sudden I had, instead of asking a priest a question, I always had my father. And to this day I call him constantly, like every couple of weeks, and I'll just have a faith question or a catechism question or something very specific.
I think that in a lot of ways, the natural things that happen within a family, now suddenly, oh, Dad, could you baptize, our child? Or Dad, I'm thinking about getting married. Could you witness our marriage? And of course, as a deacon, of course, the answer is absolutely.
When I started the formation, I, like many people, was used to accomplishing things. And it was important for me to see this in a different way, that the diaconate was not another degree. It wasn't another certification. It was something very different from that. And I told myself, if throughout the whole process of formation, if I did not give myself the permission to say no and to walk away, then I would never really be saying yes.
It's given me a chance to go deeper with the things I thought I already knew. It's given me a chance to pull off the shelf the things I'd always planned to read and never got to it. And it's given me an insight into how I see other people. The priests, when they serve at Mass, they say in persona Christi. They serve in the person of Christ. I think a deacon's spirituality seeks the Christ in other. That enlightens a whole other way of seeing another human being.
I have a deeper faith before, but now I may say it's my relationship with God is totally much more closer. And then my prayer life, I pray a lot before, now I do pray a lot more. So my relationship with God is totally different now. I always talk to Him through my prayer time, and then I always listen to Him through the Scripture.
Evangelization passes through charity. So when we reach out to our needy brothers and sisters in love, in gospel charity, that evangelizes. The deacon exercises that particular evangelical role in that fashion.
When the Archbishop gives you the book of the Gospels at your ordination, and he says, receive the book of the Gospels, whose herald you now are. Believe what you read, teach what you believe, and practice what you teach. It's very humbling words, and you commit, to publicly to serve the church and the Lord in that way. It's a very, very humbling moment as well. Happy, but you do it with a little bit of fear, because you don't really know where it's going to lead you.
I think the story of St. Stephen is an interesting one, because when you look at the institution of the diaconate, the apostles were saying, hey, look, we can't do all of this scut work. We need other people to do that. We can't be busy waiting on tables. So let's get these guys to wait on tables. But then when you look at the next verses, here you see Stephen speaking with power and authority, doing battle with the religious leaders of his time. His job title, if you will, was very humble. And yet within that job title, He rose to heights so great, in fact, that he was such a threat that they did to him essentially what they did to Jesus. And his response to being killed was the same as Jesus' response: Father, forgive them.
If God has put this on your heart, you won't be satisfied until you answer. Give the church, really, an opportunity to help you answer that question.
And so the rest of my life has really become a daily reawakening the need to sacrifice.
The perfect image of a deacon, in the sense that he takes off his outer image, takes off the masks that we all like to put on, and you become real. And you get down, you take the low position, and you wash people's feet. You meet their needs. You do what it takes.